They're not destroying our culture in the way that Asmongold approaches the subject matter. There's plenty of disagreements there. And I think that he is doing this deliberately, I will say, in an effort to, shit stir a little bit and try to get me banned, which worked.
The clip's too short. Maybe it's out of context. I hope so. I definitely do. Hopefully it's out of context. How you gonna...
Now, once he said this, does Asmongold go back and seek out the context? No, he doesn't. Instead, he follows through, basically packaging this as Hasan is a radical who must be banned. It's a joke, Lamau, he responds to.
Would you tell that joke about Donald Trump?
I think people would tell way crazier jokes about Donald Trump. And people have told way crazier jokes about Donald Trump. My statement was hyperbolic. That much is obviously clear. But the intention of it was not a call to violence directly against a sitting senator, but instead was to show the hypocrisy of the Republican Party in terms of how little they truly care about Medicare and Medicaid fraud, because that happens at the point of the provider and not necessarily in the point of the recipients. They want to cut Medicare and Medicaid for the recipients to the tune of $800 billion. And in order to justify that, they will do everything in their power to lie and claim that it's actually your grandparents that are stealing from Medicare and not people like Rick Scott. Because people like Rick Scott either fund the Republican Party and oftentimes the Democratic Party as well, or they sometimes run for office as Republicans.
Rick Scott has won re-election to the United States Senate. Here are the numbers.
That's the point. Now, should the likes of Asmongold seek out further context? I think yes. I think when you have millions of people watching your videos, it would be nice to at least inform them of what the true context is. And now that this context exists, will Asmongold watch this video? Will he go back and say, hey, my bad? Maybe. I'll be honest. Perhaps he will do that. We shall see.
Donald Trump didn't commit Medicare fraud, but yes, if he did, then yes. Okay, so then no.
He then follows up with another tweet of mine. This isn't Hasan's only first foray into political violence. This was the weapon used to assassinate Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. Archived link and reply to his now deleted post. Well, I didn't delete it. Twitter forced me to delete this.
But I'll tell you this, it's not the first time. This is the second time. No joke. Yes, neither of these, by the way, have resulted in any sort of action from Twitch at all. Your Reddit advocated for killing too? Sorry for spam. Yeah, but here's the difference, right? When did my Reddit advocate for killing people? When did this happen? And also, when did I advocate for it?
He also then, to further push the narrative that I am a radical, a scary radical who advocates for violence, he shows this tweet. Briefly, my old tweet that Twitter actually forced me to ban, which is a tweet where I, quote, retweeted sitting U.S. Senator Tom Cotton, who was advocating to kill peaceful pro-Palestinian demonstrators all the way from April 16th, 2024, almost an entire year ago, where I famously, quote, retweeted the doohickey, or I guess a meme of a doohickey that was responsible for the assassination of Shinzo Abe. Now, of course, this wasn't serious. I fib. I did this in response to a sitting U.S. senator who had previously in the New York Times written about executing Black Lives Matter protesters by using the military. And this time around, April 15th, was encouraging people. I'm going to read you his words. Senator Tom Cotton said this: I encourage people who get stuck behind the pro-Hamas mobs blocking traffic. Take matters into your own hands to get them out of the way. It's time to put an end to this nonsense. This was, of course, a direct call to violence from a sitting senator, a direct call to violence against peaceful protesters engaging in an act of civil disobedience.
If something like this happened in Arkansas on a bridge there, let's just say I think there'd be a lot of very wet criminals that have been tossed overboard, not by law enforcement, but by the people whose road they're blocking.
So he then doubled down on it and said, we do things differently around these parts. I mean, he's advocating for a direct call for violence. I jokingly, quote, retweeted that statement with the doohickey. But of course, that was apparently a bridge too far as well for Asmongold. I'm sorry. I've offended Asmongold's sensibilities. Of course, no comments on Tom Cotton, a sitting U.S. senator, actively urging his constituents to go out and kill demonstrators. Dare I say, peacefully demonstrating against a genocide. But make no mistake, it's most likely that Asmongold is simply responding to the things that he sees in his chat. Having said that, I wanted you guys to see full context of the story. It was obviously not asking for people to kill Rick Scott. I think that would be ridiculous. I think that justice should be served, however, and justice has not been served against Rick Scott in this case. Justice rarely ever gets served against the rich who exploit others, against rich people who defraud the federal government. You get a $10 million care package with $300 million in stock up for poor people that absolutely need this medical care. And then Republicans will turn around and act like the real fraud is happening at the point of the recipients and not the point of the providers.
There's about $50 billion estimated that are lost every year in Medicaid just in fraud alone. No one's for that. We've got to make sure we eliminate it. We have the algorithms now to do that. We have advanced technology to find it.
Thank God for Speaker Johnson.
That is my anger. That is my frustration. And every single person, not Asmongold, but every single Republican operative, from Tim Pool to Libs of Talk to many others, know that that is the reality. But they also want you to be distracted. They don't want you to realize that this is what the Republicans. So I urge all liberals, progressives, or even people who are worried about their grandparents or their parents losing their health care, people who might be worried about their children no longer being able to receive Medicaid, to focus on who the vectors of harm truly are, what they're actually, instead of constantly engaging in petty squabbles. I shouldn't have used the term kill. I should have used either the term capital punishment or just punishment in general. But once again, I've let you down. I've used hyperbolic language, and that hyperbolic language has brought trouble my way. As one of the progressive, leftist, political content creators in what feels like is a sea of reactionary, I am promising you that I will try to use more deliberate and more careful language going forward. Having said that, of course, in an 8 to 10 hour broadcast, when I'm constantly in a contentious battle with members of the chat, because there's always free flow conversation and a lot of back and forth going on in the community, there will probably be some moments that are, but I will try to minimize them to the best of my ability. I love you all, and when I'm